Hey, so I just want to start this video with a little bit of a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking a little bit about SA and mental health, so if that's a little bit too heavy for you at the moment, I totally understand. Please don't feel like you need to watch. Prioritize your mental and physical health because damn, it's important. I've been meaning to hop on here for a while and talk a little bit about my experience with exposure therapy. So about 5 years ago, I was sexually assaulted by someone who was supposedly a very good friend of mine, and that was meant to be very close to me and someone that I trusted, and I had known them for a long time, been quite close to them throughout my years of, my teenage years to my early adulthood. So unpacking all of that and handling that has been like a massive part of my journey. I've spoken to a couple of different psychologists about it, learned different ways to try and control my anxiety and my triggers, and just all around trying to learn how to navigate that. And that's the thing about trauma, it takes a long time. I have gotten some pretty gnarly PTSD from it, and I just have completely lost the person that I was before. Towards the end of 2023, I got the okay from a different psychiatrist, so my third one that I was trying to work with about my trauma, and she finally gave me the okay that I was stable enough to finally start exposure therapy. She was saying she didn't like to use the word stable because some people can take that quite, I don't know, it can just feel very confronting, but it's honestly a very accurate word to use, especially in my case. Like, I really struggled with my depression and my anxiety from it. I got quite suicidal. I really struggled to find my will to live and just, learn how to carry on from that. It was really, really difficult. I haven't really spoken much about this on here, and this feels incredibly weird. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details at the moment, but I did want to share a little bit about my exposure therapy because I've had a lot of questions about what that can actually entail. So essentially, the exposure therapy is to learn how to manage your triggers, and not just the way you mentally feel with it, but how your body physically reacts. There was a long time where I was throwing up. My anxiety got so bad that I was just constantly having panic attacks. I just really couldn't manage my day-to-day life. I struggled to maintain my relationships in my life, and just so many aspects of my life that I didn't think would be affected were affected. It affected my quality of life. It affected how I managed my day-to-day. It affected how I communicated with people. It affected my friendships. It affected, I can't even say my relationships because I honestly haven't had one since. The exposure therapy is there to try and really learn how to, I guess, not feel it so deeply in your body, and learn how to sit in the discomfort and figure out what parts of your trauma exactly is what's causing you the most discomfort. It's something I really struggle with, learning how to sit in my discomfort. It's just something that I'm still very much learning how to do. But when you have exposure therapy sessions, essentially what you have to do is you're explaining the traumatic event, things leading up to it. It might not have just been a one-time thing for me. It wasn't just a one-night thing. It was something that went on for months, and then it led to the more serious, like, sexual assault side of things. So what you have to do is, oh my God, my heart's beating so fast talking about this. Hey, honestly, it's like crazy that I'm even talking about this on the internet. It's wild, but you pretty much essentially have to describe your main traumatic event and You have to describe things that you could see, things that you felt, things that you could hear, things that you could smell in that moment. And what you do is there's no limit to how many sessions you'll be doing. So in my case, I've done about 3 or 4 exposure therapy sessions, and we've had to have breaks in between because at the end of the day, I'm still learning how to not have those body reactions to it. And it's taken me all this time to even get to a point where I've been stable enough to even do it. So what you do is you're explaining the story, you're explaining all of your senses in those moments. And what you're doing in those sessions is you have to move your body around. So you can either walk around the room, or parts of your body where you're feeling like it feels heavy, if you're feeling sick, if you're feeling overwhelmed, really understanding where it's sitting in your body. My psychologist, what she did is before we even started a session, she would ask me what my anxiety levels are at. If it was anything over a 4, there was no way we would go ahead with the exposure therapy that day, because the reality of it is there's a really fine line between talking about it and trying to learn how to manage it, but also re-traumatizing yourself and really feeling things again like you're right in that moment. And I guess that comes back to the PTSD as well, but it's all a very complex sort of process. So in my sessions, I'd walk around, I had certain things that I could squeeze, things that I could pull, like just random little like sensory toys, really moving my body, like moving my arms, moving my legs, just making sure that I was moving my body as much as possible in between telling the story, because the idea of it is to essentially split your mind into 2. So you're talking about the trauma and you're there in that moment, but you're also in the reality of what's happening in that moment. So you're trying to ground yourself and just really try and like process it, but not be feeling it as heavy as you would be if you were just sitting there and talking about it. During the session, we would stop every 5-10 minutes or so. She'd ask me where my anxiety's sitting. If it was getting too high, we would stop and breathe, do like different grounding exercises, really like rubbing your chest, because like I feel like I carry a lot of it in my chest and in my stomach. And yeah, just really trying to give love to that part of your body that is really feeling the trauma in that moment. So there's a lot of checking to see where you're at, telling the story, because at the end of the day, it's not an easy thing to do. And you could tell the story a million times over, but there's still going to be some part of it that you're missing because you might have blocked it out. It might be something that you really struggle to talk about. Like there's just different aspects that can, alter in the moment, like how you handle it. There were points where we were doing these appointments like every fortnight. I still catch up with my psychologist at least every fortnight, if not once a month. Sometimes we didn't jump straight back into the exposure therapy because at the end of the day, like I'm talking about my trauma, and as much as we're trying to learn how to navigate it, it's really easy to go back there and to start repeating old coping mechanisms that, just aren't super beneficial for you. Like it's just a comfortable thing that you do. You resort back to the things that you know, and that feel easy, like because you are retraining your body on how to handle and understand the trauma. So in between our sessions, we would touch base, and I always had the option to call my psych if I needed to catch up and have a chat. Sorry, the dogs are popping up. I don't know what they're barking at. But yeah, we would stop and we'd check in, see how I was feeling in between, and how the exposure therapy had been impacting me. And just like if I was really managing it. Now, in all honesty, I have really struggled with this whole process. I feel like there's a part of me that has felt like I've been moving forward and like I'm getting a little bit of my power back, but then there is still another part of me that went backwards in the sense of just feeling that darkness and that heaviness that it brought on my life, and just feeling like I just have been living with a grey cloud over my head. I don't know at the moment yet if I've had too much progress in the sense of my mental health, but in saying that, I can sit here and I'm telling you about it and I'm not having a panic attack, I'm not crying. I'm managing to kind of control my breathing and keep myself in this moment of just explaining the story. So I guess like a win's a win, and it's actually progress. So I do need to recognize that. And I think once you carry around such sadness and anxiety for so long on something like that, it just becomes a point where you just don't know who you are anymore. And that's something I've really struggled with, like amongst dealing with my chronic illness and everything that's come with that. And then having this kind of like PTSD with that kind of thing has just made life incredibly difficult to navigate. Okay, so my phone stopped recording and I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to try and think about what I just said. But I think the biggest part of the exposure therapy for me has been learning to accept that it's not my fault what happened. And I guess that's something that it has helped with. Like, I've had to really untangle this whole situation, dig deep as to why certain parts of it really, really trigger me, and understand that, yeah, like, it's not my fault. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. And at the end of the day, it's really not my guilt to be carrying around. But the thing that's really hard is this person just gets to live their life like nothing even happened, where in my case, my life's been turned upside down and I've had to relearn how to live again. And another part of it that I've really struggled to accept, okay, now I'm gonna get sad, is trying to accept and understand that no matter how much work I do on my mental health, I'm never gonna be the same person that I was before. And that's really hard. Because I just feel like there's a part of my soul that's been taken. And I know I have to try and accept that I am who I am now, and I've been through this thing that really altered my life and affected a lot of my relationships and friendships, and I'm still navigating, like, grieving friendships that I lost in this time. I know now that they aren't the kind of people that I want around in my life, but that doesn't make it any easier trying to understand it. And I know I'm never going to understand the reason why some people just take advantage of other people's kindness and their friendships and their love, and that says a lot more about them than it does about you. But trying to really accept and understand that a part of me feels like it's missing, and unfortunately, like, I'm not gonna get that back. And I know that I can still be happy, but it's been really hard feeling like I deserve that. And I know that I do, but I guess I really forgot how to love myself and, you know, appreciate myself and find my worth and understand that I have worth and that this doesn't take away from that. But that is a process that I find really hard in all of this. Trying to navigate all of this amongst trying to navigate my chronic illness has just been something else, honestly. And having to work with so many different psychologists has been really hard. Because when this happened, like we were going into COVID, and I tried to find a lot of things in my hometown that I could do, like if there was any support groups or someone who specialised in, you know, situations like this that I'd be able to talk to and try and learn how to overcome it. And there was just nothing at the time. I just got told that all I can do is speak to my psychologist. And it wasn't until I had my mental health admission to the hospital last year when I just couldn't handle it anymore. And they told me about a couple of different places that I could go to and speak to, but because it had been over 2 years since it all happened, they couldn't see me or work with me because of that time that there had been in between. Even though I got told that there wasn't anything available like that, that didn't matter. It was just that the time had gone by and I was no longer eligible for that. I was working with somebody who would come and see me every week. She'd message me nearly every day. I had to fill out a lot of mental health charts and forms to see where I was at with, you know, my depression, my anxiety, my suicidality. And yeah, like it was just really heavy. But in doing that, when I finally asked for help, I did actually get to see somebody, which is the lady I'm working with now, who has been helping me do my exposure therapy. It's been a really long journey, and this year's been really hard because I feel like starting this exposure therapy has made me feel like I am finding little pieces of myself again that I haven't had for a really long time. But it has also taken me back a little bit to those dark places and that dark spot. And I feel like after every session, I was just constantly trying to pull myself out of it again. After my exposure therapy, I would have to take the next day off work because I just felt like I needed to recalibrate. And sometimes therapy sessions can just really take it out of you and you've got to really, really dig deep. And that's what you have to do when you're doing exposure therapy. It's been really hard. Like, it's been a really hard process. But I think I'm finally learning how to navigate it a little bit more, and yeah, like I'm happy about that. But then there's this big part of me that's really sad that I've even had to do any of this. I probably haven't even told a lot of people about this thing. There's only really like a handful of people that I've told. I know when it happened, some friends were telling people about what I had been through, and I hadn't even told my family about it. So there's been a lot of like hurdles that I've needed to cross trying to navigate all of this, but I think the exposure therapy is starting to help a bit. But it really is just about learning how to not carry that pain in your body so heavily and learn how to, I guess, not even understand it, because at the end of the day, you're never going to understand it. It's just about accepting the person that you are now and accepting and understanding that you're not a disgusting person because this happened to you. You're not unlovable. Just because I stopped loving myself doesn't mean that the people around you that really truly love you like that they don't love you, because they always have, and they always will if they're truly in your corner. Another big part of it's been just like trying to understand, like especially when you're in the setting of doing your exposure therapy, but reminding yourself that you're safe and that you're in a safe place. And even though mentally, like, a part of you is in that really traumatic moment and you're describing it like it's a movie, like that's essentially what you have to do. But really, really reminding yourself and learning how to touch base with yourself and do just little check-ins and constantly be reminding yourself that you are safe. Like, yes, you're feeling the heaviness of that thing and that hurt of the situation, but I think reminding yourself that you're in a safe space and you're around safe people and you're safe within yourself, and really, I guess getting to the point where you actually feel safe within yourself, because I didn't feel like I was safe in my own hands for a really long time. And that's, a big thing that comes with it, is just really reminding yourself that you're in a safe space, you're with a safe person, you're not in that moment anymore. While you're mentally feeling like you're there, you're physically not. And just reminding yourself, like, that's not where you are right now in that exact moment. This got a little bit more in depth than I was planning. I just wanted to talk about the exposure therapy, but I think I just needed to give a little bit of context. This has been really hard to make and to talk about. I've had it written down for literally months to touch base and actually talk about it. And I know a lot of people have their own traumas and their own PTSD and their own mental health problems going on. And if you're wondering if exposure therapy is going to be helpful for you, I think that's something that you should talk to your doctors about if you feel like it's something you need. Even when I got told that I was stable enough and that this was something that I could proceed with doing, like, there was a big part of me that was like, like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, you're always going to hesitate, and it's never going to be comfortable to talk about. It's never going to be something that makes you smile. Like, at the end of the day, it's really learning about how to cope with it and how to love yourself and how to be content with who you are. And just because I might not be the exact same person that I was before this, it doesn't make, like, this doesn't define me. And, like, it's, I guess, about learning how to not give that person that sort of power that takes away your empathy and your kindness and your love, like, not only for people around you, but for yourself. But yeah, I think it's something that you need to work towards when it comes to something like this kind of therapy, because it's not lighthearted, and it is heavy at the end of the day. It has been good to be able to take breaks in between my sessions and just talk about how the exposure therapy has been affecting me, like how I'm learning to sit in discomfort, what parts of it I'm struggling with. And I know I still have a long way to go, but if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If I've upset you and traumatized you, I apologize. I really, really do. But I just wanted to sort of explain, like, the whirlwind that, you know, the exposure therapy can be. But I do believe that it's going to really help me, because I can feel little bits of it that has been helping. I just need to stick with it and keep focusing on, like, getting myself back. It's just not easy. But anyways, I'm gonna stop because this is really long and I feel like I've repeated myself, especially because it stopped recording and, like, I just lost like 10 minutes of me talking. And yeah, so if I repeated myself, I apologize, but thank you for watching. And I don't know, I just want people to know that you're not alone, and that's something that I really had to understand too. I'm not alone in this. There's so many people who deal with things like this, and it's hard and it affects you, and you're only human trying to navigate it. And if you've actually made it this far on the other side and your really heavy mental health days haven't won, like, that is just amazing. Like, honestly, that's amazing. Like, you're stronger than you think, but you have to find the strength somewhere. And trust me, I've nearly lost my battle many, many a times, and unfortunately that's just the reality of it. But I can say today, and actually believe it, that I'm glad that I'm still here. And the fact that I didn't think, like, I'm going to be 29 on the 20th of July. And there's been many times where, you know, I didn't think I was going to make it this far. And, like, I should be proud of myself. And I'm learning to be proud of myself. Like, I think I am proud of myself. Like, I am. But, you know, it's just one of those things that I'm still dealing with. Like, I know I've still got a long way to go. But, yeah. Anyways. Peace out, Girl Scouts. And, yeah. Look after your body and your mind and your soul, especially your soul and your heart. Just remember, if someone's, like, done you wrong like this, it's not something that you've done. It's not your fault. It's their fault. And really understanding that is, I guess, the start. And accepting that, I think, becomes really quite empowering after a while. I just need to remember that it's part of my story, but it doesn't make me who I am. Like, I make me who I am. And just because someone took away that part of me, it doesn't mean that I don't deserve love and that I'm going to stop giving my love. I've just had to really delegate where I put it lately, and find where I'm putting my spoons, because shit's hard. But anyways, bye guys.